Bonjour à tous, good morning. Mon nom est Éric Gagnon. Je suis le directeur principal des affaires corporatives et réglementaires chez Imperial Tobacco. My name is Éric Gagnon. I'm Head of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs at Imperial Tobacco Canada. Mon allocution d'aujourd'hui sera faite en anglais, mais une copie en français se trouve dans le dossier qui vous a été remis. Étant donné la complexité du projet de loi S5, je vous invite à passer en revue notre mémoire pour mieux comprendre nos positions. Mes commentaires d'aujourd'hui seront d'ordre plus général, mais il me fera plaisir de répondre à vos questions à la fin de mon allocution. Because of the complexity of Bill S5, I invite you to review our submission to better understand our positions. My comments today will be more general, but I will be happy to answer any questions you may have at the end of my speech. Imperial Tobacco Canada is the largest legal tobacco manufacturer in Canada, and I stress the word legal because Canada continues to have a thriving illegal tobacco trade, which is one of the main reasons why we have some concerns with Bill S5. I'm here today to give you the presentation I would have given the Health Committee on Bill S5, which mandates plain and standardized packaging for tobacco products and sets a regulatory framework for vaping products. For reasons that defy all claims to proper parliamentary review of legislation, the Health Committee has refused to hear our testimony. How a committee can pass a tobacco bill without hearing from a tobacco company that has close to 50% of the market is beyond us. First, I would like to start by saying that there are important health risks associated with smoking and that Imperial Tobacco Canada supports reasonable and evidence-based regulation, especially the ones aimed at keeping tobacco products out of the hands of youth. However, we are opposed to excessive measures that will not achieve public health objectives and in some cases that will have unintended consequences. This is the case for some of the provisions found within Bill S5. Before speaking about Bill S5, I would like to point out on the irony of the Health Committee studying plain and standardized packaging of tobacco products when just a few months ago, Liberal and NDP MPs on that committee supported a bill to legalize marijuana that specifically avoids plain and standardized packaging of those products. One of the main arguments brought forward by anti-tobacco lobbyists and Health Canada for plain packaging is to prevent Canadian youth from smoking. If plain packaging were an effective measure to deter youth smoking, surely the government would have introduced it for cannabis. After all, the 2014-2015 Canadian Student Tobacco, Alcohol, and Drugs Survey found that the percentage of youth who were daily or occasional smokers is at a record low of 3%, whereas 17% had used cannabis in the past year. The government's approach makes no sense, and the hypocrisy when dealing with tobacco product in this country is unbelievable. Tobacco products already contain a 75% graphic health warning on the front and back of the package. Products are hidden from public view, and most marketing possibilities have already been banned. No one in this country can say they are not aware of the risk associated with smoking. In addition, and despite what some health groups will try to get you to believe, no one starts smoking because of the pack. Like any other consumer good, branding on packaging is essential for consumer navigation between different products and to recognize a legal brand from an illegal or counterfeit one. This is why legal marijuana will not be subject to plain packaging. The government wants to incentivize the purchase of legal over illegal products. On Bill S5 specifically, there are three important points I want to raise. First, plain packaging does not work. For evidence, look to Australia, which recently marked their 5-year anniversary of the policy. They admit that this is the first time in over 20 years that their smoking rate has not significantly declined. You should also look at France, which brought in plain packaging in late 2016. Here again, there has been no decline in the smoking rate. In fact, within the first 6 months of the policy being in effect, cigarette sales increased. Not surprisingly, the French minister recently tried to distance herself from the plain packaging policy, with respect to which she stated in Parliament, and I quote, "Celui-ci, nous le savons, ne permet pas aux fumeurs d'arrêter de fumer," meaning she recognizes that plain packaging does not lead smokers to stop smoking. All that said, we recognize that plain packaging is a platform commitment of the Liberals. However, It is now up to the Health Committee to mitigate the damage the policy will cause, particularly as it relates to Canada's ongoing illegal tobacco crisis. And that is the second main point we want to make today. Illegal tobacco is at a ridiculously high level in Canada, roughly 20 to 25% of the market, and in Ontario, the problem is completely out of control, with rates now approaching 40% of the market and exceeding 60% in Northern Ontario. There are still at least 50 illegal cigarette factories in Canada and over 300 smoke shacks selling tobacco outside existing legal, regulatory, and tax frameworks. And the government is doing little about this despite the trade being run by organized crime. Worse still, plain packaging is perhaps the greatest gift the government can give to illegal operators. If organized crime wanted to come up with a new means to take over more of the market, plain packaging would be the solution. After all, plain packaging forces the legal industry to make our products look like the illegal ones. The Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of Health has said branding is needed on marijuana to distinguish it from illegal alternatives. The exact same logic applies to tobacco. However, what many MPs don't realize is that Health Canada is trying to go beyond the Liberal platform commitment and impose not just plain packaging or not just standardized packaging, but also standardization of cigarettes themselves. Yet another gift to illegal manufacturers. And even more incredible is that Health Canada wants to force the industry to use pack and cigarette formats that today are favored by illegal operators. In effect, the stealth powers Health Canada has given itself in Bill S5 will make it impossible for consumers, retailers, and law enforcement to tell a legal from an illegal pack. Health Canada has claimed the federal excise stamp will offer that assurance, but that is completely false. I have with me today examples of illegal baggie of cigarettes with a federal excise stamp. The stamping system is compromised and will not offer any certainty to anyone that a product is legal. Therefore, if the government wishes to maintain any integrity over the tobacco market in Canada, it is critical that the Health Committee curtail the powers of Health Canada to regulate inside the cigarette pack, including the cigarettes themselves. My third main point is to offer companies support for the provision of Bill S5 dealing with vaping products. We believe that smokers should be able to choose potentially less harmful products, such as vaping products, which countless independent studies have demonstrated are up to 95% safer than smoking cigarettes. Our company supports the government's goal of reducing the smoking rate to 5% by 2035 and believes harm-reduced products are the best path to achieving that. But that potential will only be realized if the regulatory framework makes it easy for smokers to learn about these products and to switch to these less harmful products if they choose to. To that end, we support the view that vaping products should not be regulated as tobacco products and that comparisons of the risk of these products versus combustible cigarettes should be allowed. The key question in all of this is whether the government's goal is to improve public health or to discriminate against legal tobacco companies. If the goal is public health, then embrace vaping products and harm reduction and these products as less harmful alternatives and offer smokers the ability to choose potentially less harmful products. At the same time, if the committee feels it must impose plain packaging, it is imperative to provide a means for consumers, retailers, and law enforcement to tell a legal from an illegal pack. Failing to do so basically hands the Canadian tobacco market over to organized crime, which is ironic since the government is legalizing marijuana to get it out of the hands of organized crime groups. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions. Yes.
Morning. Mark Bonikowski, Sun Media.
Hi.
You talked about contraband tobacco and organized crime. I've written extensively in the past on contraband, the tax losses, and all that sort of thing. Just lately, there are billboards going up from the Ontario or from the Association of Convenience Stores, The Korean Business Association now has radio ads talking about how contraband tobacco is killing their business. I heard it on the way in this morning in my car, one of them. Grand River Enterprises, which is the largest manufacturer of native cigarettes in Canada, is now suing the government for billions of dollars because it's not doing enough to stop contraband. That's kind of a curiosity in my mind. Could you just elaborate more on what plain packaging and standardized cigarette sticks?
Yeah.
How it will play more into the hands of organized crime, and explain to me what sort of organized crime is involved in contraband cigarettes.
All right. So a couple of things. I think the first one is when you look at some of the measures that are being discussed and presented as part of Bill S5, some health groups had been advocating for the standardized packaging in Canada to be the model that is being used by illegal traffickers. So as an example, the slide and shell pack, without getting too technical, but is a format that we don't find almost anywhere around the world. But these are the products that are being found illegally. And so what the anti-tobacco groups are advocating for, and that Health Canada seems to want to push also, is that format. So basically what you're doing is you're providing the illegal traffickers with a blueprint of what all the products in Canada should look like. And then it's just easy for these guys to just replicate them. And when you look at the cigarette themselves, the cigarettes have different, for example, filters will be different, the tipping will be different. But if you standardize the cigarette to look exactly like the model that the illegal traffickers are using today, then basically it's impossible to differentiate a legal product from an illegal product. What we saw in Australia is that contraband increased by 20 to 25% after the introduction of plain packaging. Because if you're a consumer, why pay? Today in Canada, the price of cigarettes is 75% excise. So why would you pay, I'll say between $100 for a carton of 200 cigarettes when you can buy exactly the same product for $20 to $25? And that's the concern that we have. And I think this is why, one of the things we're asking is to be able to differentiate the legal from illegal packages and at least have some branding. Like I said in my speech, nobody starts smoking because of the pack. Packs are hidden from public view. Government research says that 75% of kids who start smoking do it because of peer pressure and friends and family. So that's why we're asking in terms of common sense, just to allow, and like any other legal industry, to have the right to put our brand on our products.
I wonder, when you're talking about discrimination, are you laying the groundwork here for a legal argument, or are you talking in terms of policy and politics?
Well, both. I think there is, discrimination when you look at the way that marijuana is being treated versus tobacco. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that marijuana should be regulated as tobacco. I think the approach that the government is taking towards marijuana, which is very pragmatic, you look at it from a packaging, but also from an excise perspective, right? The finance minister has been going around Canada saying that, and agreeing with the provinces that 10% excise on marijuana should be the maximum in order to compete with illegal traffickers. Yet in Canada, like I said, 75% of the taxes, or close to 75%, is excise on tobacco products. So it appears that the government's trying to get away the marijuana market out of the hands of criminal organizations, yet, and I know that's not the objective, but it appears that a lot of the measures they're introducing is just handing the market over to these guys. On the legal front, I think we're not there yet. We continue to believe that we have the right as a legal company to have our brands on our products. It is important for consumer navigation, like I said, but that's a decision that's going to have to be taken further down the line.
If the government were to come up with a better way of putting some kind of tab or something more elaborate, to differentiate between legal and illegal products, would that satisfy you then? Would you no longer see the need for your plain packaging regulations?
Yeah. I think the answer is yes, but it has to be a measure that's going to work. Like I said, and I've showed you, but, the stamp is not working. I mean, there's stamps found on illegal products everywhere in Canada. So, some of the health groups and Health Canada has been saying, don't worry about contraband. We have a stamp on our products. That's not going to work. We continue to believe that branding is essential. And if you put out the pack and forget about that, but just the standardization of the stick itself, that's just a nightmare. I mean, if you're a consumer, it's impossible to differentiate if you buy one brand or another brand or a product or another product. And I think we're going to be stuck with not only a counterbrand problem we already have in this country, but we might be stuck with a counterfeit issue also. And this is very concerning for us. And the government should be concerned. Evaluation, it's very difficult because it's illegal, but it's evaluated that governments are losing, some reports say 2 billion, others say 3 billion. Governments are losing between $2 and $3 billion every year because of contraband tobacco. And I think, these are run by organized crime groups. And I think nobody benefits if the trade is going illegal. At the end of the day, the government has the right to make this product illegal. But I don't think that's the solution when you look at the way they're dealing with marijuana. So I think if we agree that we have a legal tobacco market in this country, we're better off to having a company like ours who's going to respect every regulation, that's going to recognize the health risk associated with it, and that's going to sell it to adults that have made a conscious decision to smoke.
So easy to approximate, say, a standardized plain package, I guess. What makes it so difficult for counterfeiters or contraband outfits to approximate the branded versions? I guess how is it different?
Sorry, I'm not sure I get your question.
So you're saying that plain packaging will serve the interests of illegal contraband
market
producers, because they can better approximate they can
replicate
exactly the plain package. Why can't they just replicate the branded package? I mean, why is this any different?
Yeah, I mean, we invest in our brands, and one of the things we're trying to do is to try to find ways to be able to differentiate our products from the ones from illegal. They don't have the technologies we have. They don't have the means to invest in some of the stuff we invest, right? And that's the type of thing that needs to continue happening if you want to be able to compete with illegal traffickers. And again, we're talking about this for tobacco, but it would be the same thing for any of the other consumer good. If a consumer is not able to know if the product they're buying is legal or illegal, it becomes impossible for them to make the right choices. And that's the main concern that we have, one of the concerns that we have with plain packaging in Canada.
Were you given any reason why you were not allowed to give testimony before the committee?
No reasons at all. Like I said, we have the only thing we got as a response is we're not invited. And so, we participated in the Senate committee. We are the market leader in Canada. And again, I don't think it's right policy and the right way to do things to exclude the people that don't agree with the policies that are being considered by the Liberal government. And so what we're hearing from this is, unless you come to this committee and you support what we're presenting, we don't want to hear from you. And unfortunately, that's the only way we had to make our submission public, is to organize this event and to share with everybody. On the funny side is then the health groups then accuse us of not being transparent, yet they don't invite us. We have nothing to hide. We're a legal company, and we will continue to offer adult consumers who have made the choice to smoke our products.
As sort of a sidebar, I read the other day that the deputy fire chief in London, Ontario, pointed to some deaths from careless smoking, and said the reasons were that the people who died had been smoking contraband, which does not have the safety feature that legal cigarettes have. Could you explain what this stuff is? Yeah,
so it's called LIP paper. Basically, it's paper that if a smoker stops smoking it, it will just stop itself, right, from burning. We comply with over 200 rules and regulations in Canada. And I think this is only one example of illegal products not complying with the Canadian law. And I think this is the reports that are coming out, is that those products did not have the paper that was going to just stop burning. Thank you very much.